How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Today's top story, the flavor merger of the century between the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp. Joining me is a PBC executive.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
Now, how did you know the merger and the byproduct of it, Jif peanut butter and chocolate flavored spread, would be a success?
You know, it was a gut feeling, a rumbling, if you will. Besides, they're two titans of taste.
Very true. Goes great with pretzels.
And pancakes.
Apples too, I bet. Try Jif PBC today.
Hello, and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode, we'll be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us, and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby, or Shecup. I'm here with my co-host and a very special guest, but first I'm going to turn it over to Austin.
Yeah, so I am Austin, or Teecup, your other host of the podcast, and we are here for a very special episode with our very special guest, N7 the Legend from the Mass Effect Lorecast. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here and talking with you both about one of my favorite RPG games.
Yeah, and so today we are here to talk about the age-old question, the much-debated question on the internet, which is Kassandra or Alexios? Who's the better choice? But before that, we ask this of all of our guests in Seven. So what got you into Assassin's Creed / which game did you play first?
So this one goes back a long ways. It's the very first Assassin's Creed. I got into it because of my older brother. He is the one who bought the Xbox 360, I think it was, and he bought it specifically to play Assassin's Creed, the very first one, because he thought it was so cool and it looked awesome, and I kind of just watched him play. And eventually, I kind of worked up the courage to attack that game. At first, the combat looked like something I would really have to get used to. It was very different from a lot of other games that I had played, because I think I can't remember the year that the first Assassin's Creed came out, but I think I was still playing Morrowind at the time. And and that game has infinite replayability, by the way, but it was very different. And I was interested. I didn't really understand a lot of the whole, themes of Assassins versus Templars until I got a little bit older. But I basically just wanted to be playing a game that my brother played, and that's what got me into it.
Yeah, awesome. So Assassin's Creed and Mass Effect are the same age as franchises.
Well, that makes sense because I'm still playing Morrowind 20 years later. And so it totally tracks that I'd be playing it, 5 years after it came out. So
yeah, because I think Oblivion is 2005, maybe.
I remember it.
Or
Yeah,
somewhere around.
I was in like 5th grade or around that age when Oblivion came out. So I think that's about right.
Yeah, because then Mass Effect and Assassin's Creed were 07. So they might actually just be weeks apart in parts of age, depending on when they released as games.
I would have to look it up certainly, but I remember playing Assassin's Creed around the same time, and I became much more invested in the series, like a lot of other people, when Assassin's Creed 2 came out and the Ezio storyline. I was much more invested then because Assassin's Creed 1 was just kind of, I don't even know if I finished it, to be honest.
It's a tough one to finish. It's definitely not where I recommend people, if they want to start with the older games, I recommend that they start with 2, get it down, and then might go try back 1. But it is in desperate need of a rework, remaster to bring it up to modern gameplay.
I would totally play a remaster of Assassin's Creed 1. I would do it for sure. Assassin's
Creed Legendary Edition, 300 gigabyte game.
There we go. Yeah. Can't wait. I got to get a new GPU just to play that one.
Yeah. So with that, we're kind of getting into this age-old question of Kassandra versus Alexios. And before we get started, I thought I'd just go over what changes between these two decisions. If you're familiar with other games where you choose a gender of your protagonist, like Mass Effect, your romance options change. The way people present things to you, the way NPCs interact with you, that all changes. It's similar here, though in Odyssey has a more open romance system. So you actually don't lose out any romance options if you choose Alexios or Kassandra. They're open to all of them. I would say they're more player sexual than being either bisexual or any other sexuality, but no matter what you do, all your romance, all your story options, all of that is available to you, whether or not you pick Alexios or you pick Kassandra. What changes mainly is the role in which that character plays in the story. And so obviously spoilers for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This whole episode is going to be spoilers for Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So Sam, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah. Here's your fucking spoiler alert.
Thank you. And so basically what happens is whatever sibling you do not pick fills the role of Deimos, which is the kind of main antagonist you fight throughout the game. And so if you've picked Alexios, Kassandra is going to fill that role. Whereas if you pick Kassandra, Alexios is going to fill that Deimos role, which then plays into choices in the DLC. In the Fate of Atlantis DLC, you play a mission from Deimos's perspective. If you've picked Alexios, it's from Kassandra's perspective. If you picked Kassandra, it's from Alexios's perspective, and so on and so forth. Now, the biggest story change that happens based on your what gender you pick has to do with the Legacy of the First Blade DLC, which is the DLC that has to do with Darius and kind of ties into the more larger assassin story. And so what that changes is the gender of Darius's child. If you pick Alexios, it is a girl. If you pick Kassandra, it is a boy. And that has to do with some story elements that I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it for Shelby.
I also have not played that DLC. I'm right near the end of the Fate of Atlantis DLC, which, by the way, that one was amazing.
Yes.
And I cannot speak such more highly of it than that. But I haven't played that one because Odyssey is a massive game. And it is frankly daunting now that I'm older and I have more responsibilities and things and places that I need to be and things like that. I did not have the time to pour into it like I did with putting 500 hours into Oblivion back when Assassin's Creed 1 came out.
And I will say this. I find myself with Odyssey getting more sidetracked from like my main objective than I do in Elder Scrolls games now. Like,
whoa, hold on. Let's back up a second. You are getting more sidetracked in Assassin's Creed Odyssey than you did when you played Skyrim. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Because
you're really going to claim that?
Skyrim's main story was dog do. I gotta be honest. The main story in Skyrim was dog do, and I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. In fact, I'm wearing. People who are listening to this can't see it, but I'm wearing a Morrowind shirt right now, and it is an Ordinator from Morrowind. So I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. But Skyrim's main story was dog do because it wasn't captivating. I do everything before I do Skyrim's main story. I have a playthrough going right now. I'm about 280 hours into it, and I'm level 54, and I have not met Delphine yet in Skyrim's main story, just to give you a perspective. So I'm amazed to hear you say that you are more sidetracked by side stories in Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I cannot stand not being able to shout dragons out of the sky. So I actually trek myself all the way up to where Septimius is, and I get the Elder Scroll as one of the first things that I could do once I'm high enough level. And then I play through the main story to get the Dragon Wrench shout, and then I get sidetracked.
That totally makes sense.
But I'm talking about like when I'm going from an objective in Skyrim, like I'm normally going towards that objective because there's not a lot of variety in Skyrim when it comes to dungeons.
Right.
And so, whereas I feel like there is a lot of variety in Odyssey, like when I see that little question mark pop on the map, I'm like, oh, what is that? Let me go find out what that is.
Yeah, they definitely have more of a variety in writing too, with the exception, and this was one of my only gripes with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the Civil War quest line that's going on gets so redundant. Like battlefield after battlefield. Like I get so tired of having to secure zones for one side or the other that I'm just like, that is almost one of the biggest hurdles in convincing me to start a second playthrough.
Yeah, I think that video games just don't do Civil Wars well.
Doesn't seem like it, to be honest, because Skyrim's Civil War quest line is also pretty bland unless you play with mods.
Yes, that's kind of where I am. Like Odyssey is this huge game. It's crazy to me that Valhalla is actually a bigger sized game than Odyssey because it doesn't feel that way. But
I've just started playing Valhalla, so please no spoilers for Valhalla because I'm about 12 hours in and I feel like I just reached the title screen. Like I'm a dozen hours in and I feel the weight of how massive that game is. I've just gotten to
left
England.
Norway? Oh, you just got to
England. I've just gotten to England and I'm like, I can't read a single fucking word here. First of all, I don't know how to pronounce any of this. My ancestors are from there. They'd be ashamed of me. But it is a great game. But again, I have not played too much of that because the scale is so daunting.
Yeah, I feel that. I still on Odyssey, like doing the DLC right now. And I am low-key terrified of Valhalla because everybody says it's so much bigger than Odyssey. And my goal is to get it done before Mirage comes out. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. We'll see.
So back to the kind of question that we're on. So Shelby and N7, we can get to the point of, because I've played both perspectives of the game. I did pick Kassandra on my first playthrough, but who did you all pick for your first playthrough?
I picked Alexios, and I can get into why a little bit later. But Shelby, who did you pick?
Yeah, I think all of our listeners know that I picked Kassandra first. We always do a segment in the middle of the show where I kind of update people about my playthrough. But yeah, I just love a strong woman named Kassandra, apparently.
Sure. So kind of getting into that, about your first choice, like what do you like about your choice and what they bring to the game?
Okay, so I like a few different things. And to kind of put this all in perspective, you need to keep in mind one big thing about me. And if you're listening to this, you can't see it, but I have replaced my background on Zoom with Hercules. And I told Austin and Shelby that this would be relevant, and here it is. I love Greek mythology. I've always loved Greek mythology, the glorious tales of these Greek and Macedonian and Trojan warriors and kings like Leonidas and Achilles and Heracles, and I consumed all of these different forms of media, books, comics, documentaries, when I was a kid, and I just loved it for some reason. And so playing as Alexios and getting to fight the Medusa or Cyclops, I got to pretend that I was like Heracles himself. And the role play was just really on point for me in that moment, because like in a lot of different moments throughout Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I wasn't Alexios. I was playing as me as Alexios. And you come face to face with Hades at one point, right? So the role playing was like on point for me. And that was a big push for me to play as Alexios, because I love Hercules, the Disney movie, so much. And so to be able to play as Heracles, and I am making that distinction between the Roman and the Greek names, but to be able to play as Heracles was awesome. So of course I wore that set of armor like all the time. And that was one of the primary reasons why I chose Alexios to start with, because I knew that there were mythological elements to the game, and I couldn't wait to dive into those. And so that was one of the reasons. And we can get into the others first, but I wanted to ask Austin and Shelby, did you have inspirations from prior media as to why you chose the character that you chose first?
So I didn't really have inspiration from prior like mythology like you have, but for me, the reason I chose Kassandra is because the only time we've played as a female main character in an Assassin's Creed game is in Assassin's Creed Liberation, as Aveline, and that's the only time we've gotten to play as a woman like the whole game, where you haven't switched off between, where it's, I guess you do in Chronicles, right, Austin? Is that right?
Syndicate.
I was going to say Jacob and Evie.
Yeah.
But no, what I'm trying to say is like you're only a woman like the whole time, like it's not switching between two characters, where you have one main character that you play as the whole time. We've only ever had Aveline. And so yes, there's Bayek and Aya, yes, there's Jacob and Evie. Sure. But for like the main games, I guess. So for me, and I haven't played Chronicles either, so that's part of it. But for me, I was like, well, I haven't played as a woman in a long time, so I want to play as a woman again. So that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think I can't remember why, because so I got my first Xbox One in 2018. So I'd taken a long, like right when I had like left, right before I left college, I sold my Xbox because apparently I was going to be a quote unquote real adult. Which that, whatever with that.
I never bought into that lie.
I know. I wish I hadn't. So I had like from like 2014, 15 to 18, I played occasionally. I had this old laptop that could run Skyrim with mods on like low settings. And so I played Skyrim with mods for like 3 years. And then I still play Skyrim with mods. So I get in and I get this Xbox in 2018. And I was like, well, they launched this new Assassin's Creed game. Like it's a relaunch of all of this. I've heard all this stuff. I had seen people play Syndicate and Unity and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh, well, the series is kind of taking a hill. Well, they did this new thing. I was like, well, I'm going to give Origins a try. And so I played Origins. And then like that November, Odyssey came out. And so I was still in Origins. And I was like, well, I'm going to buy Odyssey because I love Origins. And so we'll see what comes in. I think I played solely because I bought in online where I saw people being like, oh, Cassandra's the better choice or whatever. Like she's the better voice actor, other things like that. And so I picked Kassandra for my first playthrough. I think that's why. I think I caved to internet pressure.
So I actually did not look up much about the game beforehand. I only knew from a friend of mine who knew that I loved Greek mythology. He's like, dude, you got to play this. You know, you can fight this creature. But he didn't spoil a lot for me. And so, he didn't give me his opinion on Alexios versus Kassandra. In fact, I didn't know it was a choice until I played the game. That's how little I had consumed about this game before playing it. And I didn't learn until very recently that the whole Alexios Kassandra debate was as vile as it is online. Because, I mean, let's not sugarcoat things. Some of you are fucked up. Like, some of you go onto these forums and say terrible things to other human beings just because they liked playing as a different character in a video game.
Yeah.
I just can't. I literally just saw a thread today on Reddit about it. And like someone calling someone else sexist because they were defending Ubisoft's decision, I guess, to make Kassandra canon, which is also new to me. I didn't realize that Kassandra is technically canon.
Yeah, so that is a decision that's based on when they released the novelizations of games, both with Valhalla and Odyssey. The female representation the woman has been the main character of the novelization. So we've taken that to mean, okay, this is the canon choice. There are reasons with Valhalla, like with its story that I won't go into, that makes sense. It makes sense to me while Eivor is a choice.
Thank you for not spoiling that for us.
Yeah, but that's a big like story thing. Shelby kind of already knows, but there's a big like story point of like why there is a choice. I never understood like the in-lore universe reason for why there was a choice in gender in this game, other than I just chalked it up to like it is in like, you know, the 5th, 4th century BCE, and the little to no records that we have of that time that even the animus in DNA can't.
Right. So much has been lost to time. I love that archetype of, you know, letting players choose different things like that. And I expect a certain level of that in the next Mass Effect, honestly. You know, I think so much time is going to pass, but that's a different point. That's for my own show. I'll shut up about Mass Effect. So there's another reason why I've looked at several clips of Kassandra, and like you said, Austin, it looks largely like the script is exactly the same for Kassandra and for Alexios, but of course the voice acting performance is different. And for me, I felt like Alexios's voice acting feels a little more cheeky at times, and which I like. And he feels like the reluctant hero in the beginning. Like he really shouldn't be here in this role, yet here he is, and he kind of accepts it. I was reading this different article from like Rock Paper Shotgun before, where they were saying the opposite. The author of this article was saying that Alexios comes off as the very stereotypical knight in shining armor, which I didn't get personally, not from the very beginning of that game, especially with the way that he interacts with the thugs and Cyclops. The gang leader Cyclops, not an actual Cyclops. I felt like Alexios was almost getting into the anti-hero category with his background being a Mystios. And I felt like his voice performance echoed that. He had somewhat of a cheeky demeanor, something akin to like Deadpool almost, but a little bit less comical.
So a lot of people actually don't read this little disclaimer that comes when you start the game. But similar to Mass Effect, the choices that you make and the dialogue that choices you make shape the tone of how your character responds to things.
That makes sense. I've been known to dabble in sarcasm before.
So that's kind of like what you get. So like you could have kind of like where you have a renegade and Paragon Shepherd. Even like from male Shep to fem Shep, the renegades and Paragons feel very different. Like a Paragon fem Shep does not sound like a Paragon male Shep. And there are things that you just associate. Like I will always associate big stupid jellyfish with Mark Meer. Like it's just
of course
always going to be that way. But I do think it's interesting to note that like I think with Odyssey and its RPG elements were so new to the franchise as a whole. Yeah, we got a little bit of that in Origins, but Odyssey really took it and ran with it to make what I consider almost a true RPG. All it needed was a character creator. Assassin's Creed fans are used to things being set a certain way. And so they play through this game making their choices, not thinking about there is an AI that is driving the tone of your voice actors, like which voice acted recorded line gets played for you.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know that until you just told me, but that makes a lot of sense why me and this rock, paper, shotgun author had totally different experiences. Shelby, how do you feel, like, what did you feel like with Kassandra's opening performance, dealing with Cyclops and his thugs?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I was honestly impressed with her voice acting throughout the series. And I even watched today on YouTube a compilation of like the opposite of Alexios and Kassandra as Deimos. And it was interesting to me because I felt like the voice acting with Kassandra's voice actor as Kassandra was great. And then when she was Deimos, it sounded exactly the same. But when I was listening to Alexios's voice actor as Alexios, I felt like he sounded a little bit different than when he was Deimos. Like when he was Deimos, to me, it sounded more campy, a little bit more exaggerated of a voice performance. And then it was more like what you were saying, more a little bit sarcastic, more jokey, when he was Alexios. So that was something that totally threw me for a curve earlier today when I was, preparing for this episode.
And Kassandra being Deimos, that was a twist I did not expect, like, at all. And her scenes with like these sudden bouts of rage and anger were so well performed with her as Deimos that I don't know what it would be like playing through the game with Alexios as Deimos, but I can't imagine that I would like him more as Deimos. But again, like you said, maybe I will because it's such a different performance. But you said it was campy. Was it almost cheesy?
Almost. Like I guess I got used to it over the game, but like at first I was like, is this really his voice? Like it did feel a little over the top. And then, watching the scenes today, I was like, oh, this sounds a little bit different. Like it was at least noticeable to me. I may be completely crazy. Like it just may be a me thing. But yeah, I felt like it was a little bit of a different performance, and maybe he recorded it like a completely months later or something. I don't know. But I did feel like it was different.
Austin, you've played as both.
I do agree with the assessment that Kassandra is relatively the same, especially if you've played a more rage-driven Kassandra. But sometimes with Alexios, I think that a lot of the direction in the voice acting almost comes off as like stereotypical angry Greek person. And I think that is a fair criticism of at least Alexios as Deimos.
So when you say stereotypical angry Greek person, all I can think about is the dad from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I don't know if that's what you're going for, but that's all I can think of.
It's a fair assessment.
And I have a soundboard next to me, and I have a bunch of different sound effects, a lot of them for Mass Effect. But now I'm feeling like I need a sound effect that just says Malaka.
Yes.
We've got
for
one.
sure.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. um, uh, Speaking of the voice performances, and this is going to be probably the hottest take of mine this episode about Alexios. I think he plays better with Phoebe. I think he plays better with Phoebe not being Deimos, because yeah, it's an archetype of the protective older brother, but I really feel like his interactions with Phoebe were more impactful, at least for me as the player, because he doesn't get shaken a lot during the course of the game. He doesn't get emotionally, I don't know, hurt until Phoebe is, I don't know how I feel about spoilers, but until what happens with Phoebe happens, and then you get to see really Alexios being hurt and enraged with that righteous, kind of pain, and that turn for me was like, oh wow, he's a lot more relatable, and you don't see that a lot with a lot of male protagonists in video games. I mean, I love Mark Meer and his performance in Mass Effect, but as he's told us before, it looks and feels like he was intentionally told to be flat in his delivery of lines throughout most of the games rather, until about Mass Effect 3, when he was told that he was allowed to have a little bit more emotion with how he delivered things. Mass Effect 2 as well, but Mass Effect 3 more so, to prevent mood swings. But there was a certain baseline where I felt like his performance was always a little bit too flat to be relatable. And I didn't get that with Alexios, specifically with his interactions with Phoebe. He was gentle and tender with Phoebe, and he could be a real mercenary son of a bitch with everyone else.
And I think like that as a whole is why I keep coming back to these Odyssey protagonists as like really well written characters, because both of them like break this mold of like the man does not have to be all tough. The man can be gentle, like a man can be emotional, a man can care for these individuals. And the same thing for for Kassandra, she can have all of these emotions and care and have this motherly, sisterly figure to Phoebe, but then turn around and shove an obsidian eye in a goat's butt.
Yes, by the way, that scene made me die laughing.
I know.
Yes, holy shit. I don't think that could have been played any better. But on your note of like gender roles in video games, I feel like the longer that I start examining, playing with different gender roles about abandoning this historically machismo culture of male protagonists that, you said the male doesn't always have to be tough. Well, to a certain degree, I feel like we have almost equivocated personality traits with heroic men that would almost be sociopathic. That would like nothing ever bothers you. You don't ever have any connections to anyone, and you're taking stoicism to the max, and always being the tough big strong man. If you are always that way and that is who you are, first of all, I think you really need to talk to a counselor because everyone feels things. We are all human, unless you really don't feel anything, and then you may be a sociopath, and that's terrifying. and I don't think we should be elevating men who exemplify sociopathic traits, because we should not equivocate that to being more manly, just as we shouldn't do the same thing with women. Like, we should never elevate women who are displaying sociopathic traits or very toxic abusive traits as being more womanly. That's equally fucked up. But historically, we've done so a lot with male heroic archetypes, and I don't like that. And I see some of the mold being broken here, some of it in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I like that for Alexios and for the character.
on that note, I think that's what I love about Origins so much, is that Bayek is such a flip of that. He is always gentle. Even when he's angry, he never ever takes it out on, the least of these, the people who are suffering around him. And even though he is going through so much grief in his life with the death of his son, he does not let that make him bitter and make him closed off or unemotional. And so I love that about Assassin's Creed Origins. That is a little bit of a soapbox of mine, but I absolutely agree that I think both Origins and Odyssey do flip that stereotype on its head a little bit. And I do appreciate that, even if I also have some criticisms about the way they have chosen to do this choose between the genders thing.
I loved Bayek. Origins was one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. If I had to rank my top 3 in no specific order right now, it would be Black Flag, Origins, and Odyssey. And there's a lot of hardliners in this fandom that I know will say, well, Odyssey isn't really an Assassin's Creed game. Okay, it came out, and whether you like it or not, it's part of the Assassin's Creed series. And you can furiously type on your keyboard in that review column that N7 doesn't know what he's talking about, but it's part of the Assassin's Creed series, just like Mass Effect Andromeda is part of the Mass Effect series. And although I didn't like Andromeda too much because I didn't feel like it was as Mass Effect-y as the original trilogy, it's still legitimate. And all of the lore and all of the stories and all of the narratives and all of the different elements that come with characters from that game are still just as legitimate as the original trilogy, even though it didn't, float my goat.
Yes. Yes.
I tend to jump on the criticisms of Valhalla not really playing like an Assassin's Creed game, but my critiques come there from lore perspective reasons. But Odyssey and Valhalla, and this is something that's the Assassin's Creed fandom that I must say, and you can write on your review you can write reviews all you want, but the Odyssey and Valhalla are not about the assassins. They're about the Isu. And we have been asking Ubisoft for a decade, for 15 years, for more information about the Isu. Well, we got it.
It's a great point. Yes, it is. And I myself am part of that fandom that was decrying, for more storylines about the Isu. And yeah, it's a fantastic point.
With that, I think we need to take a mid-break before we do our last take questions.
All right, well, let's head on over to the break.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
As a sports fan, I have to confess, sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
You weak fool! Get a job!
Christina!
Who's there?
Me!
Oh, it's you! I should have known.
May I come in?
Fine, but only for a minute.
A minute is all I need.
Indeed.
Well, wait, that came out wrong.
So the first thing I have to say is thank you so much to all of our patrons. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is the best way to support us is to become a patron. And at certain tiers, you can even come on the show with us once a month, which will be happening on our next episode. So definitely sign up and join us at that tier. And there are other benefits as well, but it's definitely the best way to support us. And we want to thank all of our many patrons. We appreciate you so much. You help us continue making the show. But if you can't support us financially, we totally get that. And the next best way to support us is by leaving us reviews or comments, ratings on Spotify. So we do have a comment from Spotify to read today. And this one comes from Courtney9. And they commented on the Great Purge episode and said, I just caught up on all the episodes and I'm so bummed that I have to wait for them weekly now. The podcast is so well thought out and informative. You guys do an amazing job. Thank you so much for that awesome comment and review. We appreciate you taking the time out to give us those thoughtful words. And then the next thing that I have to tell you about, which is my Odyssey playthrough, update, I finished the main story. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this episode if I hadn't. I am not done with the DLC though, and I'm still like tinkering around with a few minor quests, but I really loved it. I enjoyed it a lot. It may be moving up into my third ranking, like my third favorite game after Origins and Revelations. I think that's where it's gonna live in my rankings list right now. Austin may be surprised by that.
A real, like, kind of like wild card Cinderella pick there with Revelation.
I love that game. Old Ezio, 10 out of 10. You know how I feel about him.
Yeah, I guess my whole thing is like you have started the Legacy of the First Blade DLC, and I just want to know, like, well, I guess with limited spoilers, how do you feel about Natakis? How do you feel about Darius? All of that.
I have to say, I love Darius. Let's get that out of the way first. Obsessed with him. I am annoyed because I already know some of the things that are going to happen. Like, I know the game is going to force Kassandra to be with Natakis to further the bloodline. And I am so annoyed by that. So it kind of turns me off to his character entirely, if I'm being honest. But I'm trying not to be jaded or cynical, which is my nature. So I'm trying to go in with an open mind.
All right. Well, let me know as you continue what you think.
I will be sure to let you know.
Sam, you might not know this, but the ending of the second part of the Legacy of the First Blade DLC was super controversial in the fandom.
I cannot wait to get there then, because I haven't actually played that DLC yet, so I can't wait.
But yes, it was very controversial because Ubisoft made a story decision that a lot of players felt ruined the spirit of the game.
Me as a Mass Effect lore podcast host, have I ever felt like the game company made a controversial story decision that didn't jive well with me? I don't know. I can't think of one.
As a Dragon Age podcaster, I have no idea what you could possibly be talking about. No clue whatsoever.
Guys, BioWare is never problematic. We don't have any problems with BioWare.
I think we need to put a disclaimer right now. This is all sarcasm. For anyone who's listening, we have a lot of issues. That's okay.
But
all
yeah.
Right.
Anything else?
Good. The only other thing I want to say is, first of all, I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken by Phoebe's death. Was sobbing over it. Like, I was not okay. Didn't play the game for a few days. And I said this in our Discord, but I want to say it again. And it's that I feel like I can never replay this game as Alexios because I'll never be able to forgive, him for setting into action what happened with Phoebe. Like, I'm not ever going to be able to get that out of my head and reverse the roles.
And Phoebe later appears in the underworld, right?
Yes.
So going back to, like, my love of the Disney movie Hercules and love of Greek mythology and whatnot, the simulation of the underworld with Phoebe appearing, I was like, oh my God, it's just like Hercules trying to save Megara from the underworld. And I mean, it's not just like it, but it was enough for me to satisfy my role playing that made me happy. But her death really devastated me. And I felt the rage toward Kassandra. And I was like, you son of a bitch. I'm going to kill you slowly. that kind of thing. So I will have a hard time forgiving Kassandra if and when I decide to pick up the game again.
Yeah. And like Ubisoft has kind of made that narrative decision, at least with Origins and Odyssey, that like they're going to go for really, really like traumatic and like real stories that happen in here. They kind of tone it back a little bit with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, a little bit.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Malaka!
Malaka. Malaka.
Unless the legend is a lie, you are the man I long to meet. Renowned master and mentor. Ezio Auditore de la. Prego. Forgive me. I have a hard time remembering that Italian gibberish.
I'll see you all at the selection ceremony, ladies. I especially hope you show up.
Let me guess. He's rich.
But I'm curious now, kind of as we move into the rest of the show, before we get into the last 2 questions, I'm curious for both of you, how was your ending of the main story? Not the DLCs, but like the main stories. Like, what choices did you make? Where was, like, who survived to the end? That kind of questions.
So, to be honest with you, I haven't finished that since 2000. When was it? I was still living in Ohio, I think. So that must have been 2018, right? That was when I finished it, I think. And so I haven't gone back and played or looked at any of the videos of the ending since then. So I can't remember the choices, but I do know that I royally fucked up in the beginning and allowed that family to live. I didn't kill them because they had been exposed to the plague. So the plague swept through all of Greece and killed a lot of people. I can't remember. Is there an ending? Is there a choice at the ending where you can spare Deimos or not?
Yes, but there's a bunch of choices that you have to make that all start with the decision you make regarding Nikolaos or her father, stepfather.
Yeah,
whether you spare him or not.
You know what? I definitely did not spare him.
Yes.
No. So I remember that. I did not spare him.
So do you remember if Kassandra or if Alexios had any family members left alive when you finished the main story?
I don't think so.
Okay. So you had a very similar ending to mine, because I also chose to kill her stepfather. Someone in this chat did not.
Yeah, I totally fumbled my way into the good ending, absolutely completely by accident, in opposition to my Mass Effect and Dragon Age playthroughs, hilariously. Just, I had no idea what I was doing, didn't look up a guide or anything. I just kind of went with the flow. Like, I felt like there might be some potential for reconciliation later in the game. And so I wanted to leave that opportunity open. I didn't want to cut it off for Kassandra prematurely. So I was like, you know what? You can live. And then I always wanted to get Deimos, Alexios, away from the cult. Did not want him to, be with them forever. And so I wanted him to like get redeemed. Even though I was mad at him about Phoebe. So yeah, I totally bullshitted my way into the good ending.
Oh, you know what? I'm starting to recall a little bit more. I'm doing a little bit of light Googling, and I think I may have saved Alexios' mother. Is that, I can't remember her name. Yes. I think I remember her surviving. So maybe it wasn't so bad. Definitely not everyone was alive. I can tell you that.
So remember that, because I think it's an important thing to remember in our last question. But for the friend, like, if you've played other Assassin's Creed game, which it sounds like we all obviously have, do you like this added to the franchise, this option for a choice of protagonists and even like a choice of dialogue responses? Because in the fandom, this is a very debated topic of whether this is a good thing. And some of our more committed to like the historical narrative or whatever, like we shouldn't have dialogue options because we're reliving history. We shouldn't have a choice in what happens there.
It's an interesting conundrum because personally, I love video games that allow a choice. And of course I do. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. And I love seeing that choice play out and reaping the consequences of my actions. And that's just kind of what I like in video games. But honestly, I don't know if that's the right path for Assassin's Creed, because they are trying to tell a linear historical story, like you just said. And I don't know how you can reconcile those two things without delegitimizing half or more of players', realities that they lived through in these games. So it's a really tight line I feel like they have to walk, because I can't imagine if they redid Mass Effect, or not Mass Effect, all of the Assassin's Creeds with Ezio, and they tried to implement that kind of your choices matter and you can choose different things and you get different endings, and then tried to reconcile that with the endings that they already wrote for that character. You know what I mean? So I felt so strongly that I loved Ezio's arc so much that I don't know if I would have loved it the same if I could have chosen my different endings. I guess the difference was that when I was playing through Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood Revelations, I cared about Ezio. My focus was on Ezio and him as a character and all of the different things that happened to him as a character. But with Odyssey, it was more about me. It was more about me as the player. So I suppose it depends what Ubisoft wants. Do they want the players to feel more like it was about them as a player, or are they trying to tell a story about a fixed character?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you about the dialogue choices. I love RPGs, but I don't think that Assassin's Creed is necessarily the right IP for a true RPG. And I know that everyone in the fandom, not everyone, but a lot of people in the fandom talk about, the RPG trilogy, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, that's not real Assassin's Creed. But for me, it's like, well, that's not a real RPG. Games like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, those are real RPGs where you have a full character creator. So to me, it's like during the game, I didn't really have that big of an issue with the dialogue choices because it felt like old news. I've done this before. I've played games like this before, but I can see how someone who's a diehard Assassin's Creed fan who maybe doesn't play RPGs, that would be astonishing to them. That would be very much out of left field to them. But for the other part of the question, Austin, about having the option for the protagonist, I've said this on the show before. I know it may be a hot take, but I hate having an option for the protagonist. And there are a few reasons, but I think primarily because the option for protagonist arose out of Ubisoft's refusal to really commit to a female protagonist because they were quote unquote afraid the game wouldn't sell with a female protagonist. That's what they have said. That has been the leaks. So I dislike the choice. It feels like a bad compromise to me. It feels almost like a lore breaking compromise to me. At least in Odyssey, maybe not so much in Valhalla, but I don't love it. I wish that they would just commit to telling a good story regardless of gender. I mean, I would love to see a female protagonist and like commit to a female protagonist that you can't like choose away basically. But that is my issue with the choice of the protagonist.
So in Mass Effect, I think that it's going to be a mistake if they have to canonize a lot of the next story, and looking backward, it's going to be a mistake, but they've kind of written themselves into that situation. Whereas with Assassin's Creed, I do feel like it should be more linear, it should be more structured, and they should have canonized a character, despite the fact that I like the fact that I can roleplay and choose my own protagonist. I like that, but I also feel like the story suffers because of it. And you know, I'm just now hearing for the first time these details that Ubisoft did not want to canonize a female protagonist, and if that's really the reason, that's bullshit. And to everyone else who, like me, likes playing as Alexios, if you can't see that for the bullshit that it is, like, you need to put your own feelings on the back burner for a second and look and be like, wow, so it was all about money. That's why. And again, I'm just hearing this for the first time, so I haven't done any research into it. But if the only reason that they've then made it into, an RPG essentially, or an RPG light, is because they thought it would mean more money, that represents it's so emblematic of the trend that I see going forward with gaming, that I think will ultimately be the death of the true RPG and the true great narratives in video games.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think there are some titles that coming out that are really gonna be the like make or break on the true RPG and narratives, and two of them are Dragon Age Dreadwolf and Mass Effect 5. And I think Ubisoft is kind of committed to be like, okay, we're going to do it all. We're gonna have some games that are gonna be RPG, and we're gonna have some games that are gonna be the more linear style. So we're just gonna throw a wide net, which I guess as a company as large as Ubisoft is, they have the money and resources to do that. I just hope they do it well. And I will say that Odyssey breaks the lore of what's happening in the game with the ability to choose. I will argue that Valhalla does not, again, for a major story reason that's down the road. Especially with the choice, you can let the Animus decide, which once you find out what's going on, makes a lot of sense. And so I think that I love Odyssey as a game. Don't love Valhalla as much. But I love Odyssey as a game. I do love the story. I do see the controversy. I mean, all of Odyssey's promo material has Alexios on it. Similar to Mass Effect 3 was the first game to have the option to have Fem Shep on the cover.
True, and if the Mass Effect fandom ever got into as heated of a controversy about whether Fem Shep or Bro Shep were canon, I don't know if my heart could stand it. Just because it is so vitriolic online about Kassandra and Alexios. And like, you've been able to choose FemShep or BroShep all the way since the beginning. And although they didn't promote FemShep nearly as much as they should have, it was still a choice, and it was a legitimate choice. And Jennifer Hale worked on all three in the original trilogy, as did Mark Meer. So I don't think that... I see people do it all the time, actually, on Twitter, but I don't think that they have a leg to stand on, claiming that one is more canon than the other. Just shut the fuck up and enjoy your game. You know what I mean? Like, enjoy your game. Let other people enjoy their game. It's an RPG game in Mass Effect's, in Mass Effect's respect. So you're going to have different experiences, and both of them are legitimate. And I think the same goes for Kassandra and Alexios. I really loved playing as Alexios, and I don't think I'm going to like playing as Kassandra as much, but that doesn't mean that people who liked playing as Kassandra more are any less legitimate and experiencing less of a legitimate Assassin's Creed Odyssey story. And if you need to believe that, I feel like there's probably some other shit going on in your life that you should probably address first.
100%.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into, all in all, why do you believe or think or might fall on the side of that the choice you made is the best choice or is the better choice for you?
I want Shelby to answer this one first.
Okay, I have a joke answer, but my joke answer is because have you seen Kassandra in the pantsuit at the end? I'm unwell. My real answer is because I want Assassin's Creed to be a video game series that women can play too, and I feel like we have very little representation when it comes to main protagonists, and so that's why I love Kassandra. It's not the only reason. It's not really the reason why I think she's the best. I actually am not really convinced that she's better than Alexios, but that's why I chose her. That's why I recommend people should play as Kassandra, especially people who only ever play as men. I think it's good to, put yourself into a different perspective that's different from your own. We all can learn things. So that's why I love Kassandra and recommend people to play as her for sure.
So I fully agree that people should put themselves in different perspectives and different characters and making different choices so that they can, experience them and then learn what they truly like the best. Because I played FemShep for the first time not too long ago, I think last year, and there were a lot of differences. And so in that light, that's why I say if and when I do work up the courage and the time to do another Assassin's Creed Odyssey playthrough, I'll play as Kassandra, and I'll try and notice the subtle differences, maybe in the way that different lines are delivered or that different animations may play out. I'm not sure. But for now, I think that my choice as Alexios is the best because I think a lot of people who picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey may not have been looking for the stereotypical Assassin's Creed experience. And I think a lot of people who picked it up saw Greek hero, Odyssey. It's literally called Odyssey, like the Iliad and Odyssey. So they may have been expecting an experience like that. And as we know, many Greek heroes were male, for better or for worse, in mythology, that is. And so if they were looking for that kind of experience, they probably picked Alexios. And of course, all the other reasons that I mentioned before about why I liked Alexios still apply.
Unfortunately, we don't have the nifty article like BioWare released of the percentage of gamers who have picked one or the other.
That was bait, is what BioWare did with releasing that article. But I'm you know what? I'm not surprised that there are certain factions of fandoms that are more vocal than others and tend to paint people's perceptions with maybe that they are larger or more representative of a majority than they truly are. that goes for Mass Effect. I'm sure it goes for Assassin's Creed as well. I feel like, and I might be wrong here, but I feel like the majority of Assassin's Creed players probably don't care enough to tell people on the internet that they should go harm themselves, or that they're wrong and that they're abysmal for liking things the way they do.
There's a great study, but it talks about RPGs and pro-social behavior. Like if you make choices that are for the betterment of society, and statistically gamers who play true RPGs statistically make the pro-social choices in their games. Those are the ones that most people are like, yeah, this is the right choice. Like, do that. Yeah, we'll do our jokes. I'll do a thing where I kill Morden and don't cure the genophage. But then I'll save Scum and start over. I'll save Scum and start over. I've actually never done it.
Yeah. You sound insane.
I tried to play a soundbite. I don't know if it went through because everything's being filtered through my NVIDIA broadcast, but that was Eric Andre saying, "What's going on with you? You sound insane."
I've never done it, but I have watched it, and it's heartbreaking. But actually, it's more heartbreaking.
Doesn't begin to describe it.
Mm-hmm. To convince Morden to sabotage it is worse.
It isn't just killing a mockingbird; it's like executing a mockingbird.
Right. But I think that one thing that made me fall in love with Kassandra, at least, because that's who I picked in my first one, was my first playthrough. I got the worst possible ending. Everyone's dead. You go from this. Deimos basically kills Marini in front of you, and then you have to kill him. And then you go back to your little home in Sparta, where you're like supposed to have dinner. If you have the good ending, you have this like hilarious dinner with your family. You go back there and Kassandra sits there alone. It is a completely wordless scene until Kassandra sits down and lets out a singular sigh. And the emotional weight in that sigh wrecked me as a player.
Okay, so I definitely did not have that ending because I remember my ending being happier than that.
Yes. And then she goes and, Barnabas comes and he comforts her and they go off on their adventure or whatever. But I just remember sitting here and just like, these new Assassin's Creed games are hitting differently. Because Origins, we talk about tragedy. Ezio has his own tragedy. Edward has his tragedy. Connor, of course, has his own tragedy. Like all these assassin protagonists have their tragedy, but none of them really compare to Bayek and Aya or to the potential of what can happen to Kassandra. But I remember sitting there and I was like, you just made me feel everything that this character is feeling with a sigh. Like, that's good music editing. That's good graphic, how the character moves, facial expressions, the delivery of that voice acting, the music, all of that is spot on. If you can make me feel everything that character is feeling from a sigh. And so I'll always associate that with Kassandra. So I think that's why she remains in the choice that I go to.
Yeah, you know what, there's a couple of different moments like that I witnessed throughout the game, and I do feel like they did an excellent job with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, no matter who you picked. But I think I'm going to be really hard pressed, even after playing as Kassandra, to think that my original choice wasn't better. Just for no other reason than the fact that I'm a human being and I tend to justify my actions rather than go back on them. But that's just me.
No, I agree. I think that this is a game that is whatever you choose first, that's always going to be your favorite. That's always going to be what you think is best, and you're not going to change your mind.
Right. Well, with that, that's our time for today. Sam, if you want to come and kind of plug your Lorecast and your streams, if you want to tell us where we can find you and hang out with you.
Yeah, I am doing the Mass Effect Lorecast every week. This week we are going to be talking about Tali. So this is a much anticipated episode. It's going to be a series of episodes that we're talking about Tali. but we are going to be talking about her before the games. So if you're interested about what lore we know about Tally's background before we even meet her in Mass Effect 1, you'll want to tune in for that one. I'm also streaming Mass Effect 2 randomized, so there is a randomizer mod for that game, and it is chaotic. We have different characters' faces on different characters' bodies, and it combines the names of the characters. Like, for example, there was a Thane Jacob mashup that looked horrendous. It was Teecup. And then when I went to the Citadel, I walked on and I saw Kasumi Jacob, which was, I think, Keikub. And it was Jacob in Kasumi's hood, so it looked like Darth Jacob. And it's been a wild ride. So if you'd like Mass Effect Chaos, you can follow me on Twitch at N7 The Legend. Same handle on Twitter. I'm frequently tweeting about video games as well.
I'm curious does it randomize enemies as well? Like, randomly here in the Citadel, here's a Collector Scion or whatever.
I've told it to randomize enemy types, and I think it can to a certain extent, but I don't think it's randomized enemy weapons. I can tell you that. I'm getting shot with things that don't make sense all the time. And I have a list of pre-programmed names that I chose that it's going to replace certain characters' names with those names. And I've chosen a list of my most frequent Twitch viewers. So they will get to see themselves to a certain extent in the stream, and it's going to be great. And it randomizes a whole hell of a lot more. So if you want to come by and see what it's like, I highly encourage it. You probably get the gist after about 5 minutes.
I was just gonna say thank you for being on here and coming to chat with us about Assassin's Creed.
Of course, and thank you for having me on here to talk about it. I mean, I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and now I think I'm going to want to get back into it. While we've been talking, I was looking for this, and I finally found it. I got my Assassin's Creed Odyssey achievements here in front of me on the Xbox app. I have 6 days of game time on it.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how many hours that would be necessarily, but it's 6 days, 2 hours, 36 minutes. And I was trying to find by the achievements if I could find which ending that I picked. And I don't know what the different names of the different endings are. But I guess we could talk about that off air. And if people are interested in talking to me about Assassin's Creed, they can also find me on the Robots Radio Discord and the Cups Discord at N7 Legend.
Yeah, well, let's wrap it up real quick. But thank you so much for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Want to live better? We've got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.